Hi, it's Winton Churchill with the Barefoot Consultants, and I'd like to welcome you to our Facebook Friday call. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 ways you can build more fun into your freelancing. There's things that you can do that make it more fun, entertaining, that kind of thing, and we're going to talk about those. When I talk to folks about freelancing, the natural conclusion is if they've been doing something for a while or they come out of a certain discipline or job function or that kind of thing, that they really need to go into that same job function in order to make uh, freelancing work and earn the money they want to earn and that kind of thing. And while that may be true in some ways, it's a great opportunity to dabble around and do a short project in an area that is fun to you. And I'll explain. For many years, I gave presentations. So I used a program called PowerPoint, and I had to give people lots of information and sort of fly around and give presentations and talk about what we covered in the presentation and that kind of thing. And after doing that for about, I guess the better part of 30 years in the technology area, uh, I got tired of explaining technology. And when I left my last job in, let's see, right around the year 2000, working for a big technology company, I was sick of giving presentations to people. If I never saw a PowerPoint presentation again, it would be too soon for me. And uh, in 2007, I moved to Mexico. And so for that period of time between 2000 and 2007, I did a few presentations uh, as a consultant freelancer on behalf of clients and that kind of thing. So that was, I got a little bit more involved in it. But when I moved to Mexico, I really um, and started teaching sort of the principles of the Barefoot Consultants. I realized that it wasn't presentations I didn't like doing. It was presentations about technology I didn't like doing. And when I started helping people learn how to work online and take their career and their resume and turn that into a way to freelance, I was very happy to dive back into PowerPoint because that's how I knew how to explain things, and at its basic level, this goes back to cave etchings that are 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 years old, in different places around the world. We kind of have this uh, very lifelong human nature desire to communicate. And if you go back and look at some of those cave drawings from especially in France, from some of the archaeological sites there is a rich history of telling stories on cave walls and painting them and painting a series of things in a sequence to tell a story. And so I was pretty excited about being able to explain to people about how freelancing worked and what kind of jobs you can get and that sort of thing. And it wasn't so much using the tool as it was the subject matter. So as we go through all this, realize that the work that you do as an online freelancer might initially be in your field of study, or work or experience or hobby or something like that. But it's also going to be, it could be something that gives you a different look at that, a fresh look at that. It might be something that moves you into learning about more of the tools you can use to tell the story about something. And that's a fairly common thing. Story is one of the ways that increasingly is more important for us to communicate now. In all the complexity of the technology and international relationships and business relationships and governmental, activity and proposed laws and existing laws and expiring laws and that kind of thing. We all have a lot of complexity in the world that we live in. And what we're eager to do is to make that simple, and storytelling is one of the best ways to do that. So let's get into the first way to make your activity more fun. And it's just what I was talking about. It's applying a skill you already have in a different way. So in my case, I would apply my skill to helping large technology companies carry their message out one way or another. And now I do that same sort of process, but the message is different. Instead of it being a technology message and how a corporation can save cost, improve profits, whatever it might be, now it's a lesson on how somebody can turn into a freelancer with a set of skills that they already have. And so it turned out for me that doing this was very enjoyable, and I discovered that I already knew sort of how to paint. It was like a painter that shifts to painting a different subject and finds out that they may be better at painting with the current subject matter than the subject matter that they spent painting for a decade, and so this is a very interesting idea of applying a skill that you already have. It may be a skill like maybe you know how to do spreadsheets. That's another one that comes up. I remember working with an accountant that knew how to do spreadsheets, and he'd always wanted, he wasn't too crazy about his sort of accounting slash spreadsheet existence. And I said, well, what things interest you? What hobbies would you like to do? What if you were, could just write down anything you were interested in? And he came up with the idea of he's always been interested in police work. And so I said, all right, go in and take a look at all the jobs that tap into the skill that you already have, which is using spreadsheets, using Microsoft Excel, but put in the word police or the word, criminal investigation, or a number of other terms that we came up with that kind of plucked around this idea of police officers, the kind of work they do, the volunteer organizations they belong to, and that kind of thing. And I said, find a job in there that will take you maybe 2 to 4 hours. You might make $25 on it. You might make $100 on it. It's not a big job. It's not about the money, but it's about bringing your considerable skill to an organization that is in one way or another connected to a police force. It could be a community outreach. It could be a volunteer organization for police that supports police officers, that kind of thing. And just do a simple job. It's not a lifelong commitment. It's a 2 to 4 hour commitment, maybe. You are not going to get rich doing that. It's fairly low risk for you. It's low risk for your client to have you get involved with what they're doing. They get to see what your skills are. And when you do something like that, do a job that extends your skills, you're getting to experience that whole thing in a different way and decide if you like the idea of doing that. At the end of that, you'll be a whole lot smarter about, is that something I want to do or not want to do? And it's really important to, sort of go through the appetizer tray of online freelancing and sample some of these different things that are interesting to you. The next thing that you want to tap into is your domains of knowledge. And of course, we have domains of knowledge from our education. Maybe you graduated as an engineer. You've got a Bachelor of Science degree or Bachelor of Arts. You graduated as an English major. Maybe you actually worked in a particular industry, like pick pharmaceuticals, pick aviation, transportation, many different industries. And so you have domains of knowledge in that realm. And what you want to do is figure out how to take those domains of knowledge that you're not thinking of as your primary domains of knowledge, areas of interest that you have. Like it could be coaching baseball, or it could be collecting coins, or it could be studying Civil War history, or whatever it might be, and type into a big online network like Upwork or Freelancer or that kind of thing, Civil War history, and just see what pops up. Look for the jobs. Most website or online networks rank jobs as to beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And what you're looking for is the beginner jobs, typically in a domain of interest that you have. Could be a hobby, could be a sport, could be whatever, but something that would tap into that. And again, just be a 2 to 4 hour kind of a job, not a lifelong commitment, but the appetizer tray of trying things out. Now, I was just working with a member on finding fun things, and this is where we go into a website, an online marketplace, and we throw out just ideas. It's called, as some people call it, spitballing. Just what's interesting. Wouldn't you expect to find? What kind of things would you like to do? And this one person had a lifelong interest in aviation. So we put in the keyword aviation, and we look for small jobs. We look for jobs that were under $50, and just, there were many dozens of jobs under $50. This person had particular skills in things like PowerPoint presentation, volunteer groups, different things like that. And they found, out of that several dozen items that came up, that were very inexpensive jobs that touched on aviation, uh, flight, uh, transportation with the airlines, and that kind of thing. And they uh, did that job. They went out. They bid on half a dozen that were in that search that came up, in an area that they've never really worked in, but had a lifelong interest. A life of reading articles about aviation, maybe watching documentaries about aviation, that kind of thing. And they found themselves in a position to do some work that tapped into their skill set directly related to the aviation field, that happened to be with a subcontractor of a major aviation company. And so it gives a freelancer the opportunity to try these things out, to demonstrate your skill set. You've acquired knowledge. We certainly have noticed during the lockdown, a lot of people I talk to say they've watched more documentaries and educational programs since the lockdown started than they have in the last decade. So it's definitely been a time of exploring, of understanding things, of learning things along your lines of interest, in some cases, along the lines of your career and that kind of thing. And so that's always a great thing to bring in. Yeah, good to see you, Tom. Welcome to the call today. Thanks for dropping by. We're, of course, glad that we've got all our folks online today. That's good. And we got a bunch of folks, basically about 90%, 95% of the people that watch this don't watch it live. They watch the playback, and we love it when they do. And we answer questions related to this topic or any other topic that you might have related to freelancing in the chat as we go through the week. So if you're watching this on replay, welcome. We're happy to have you here. And we're just delighted when you have a question or a comment that you can pop in the chat window there. If you're a freelancer, why don't you put in a job that you've done that you were pleasantly surprised how interesting it was? Most freelancers that have been freelancing for a year or two will say, I bid on the strangest job and surprised me, I got it. And I have never had as much fun with a freelancing job as I did with this particular one. So take a look at that, and happy to answer any questions you might have on any topic related to freelancing today. There's this new phenomenon that one of our members pointed out, Cecil from Australia, called the boomerang effect. Right now we have the great resignation, and there's some group of people that think that uh, a lot of people are going to abandon the corporation, become a freelancer, find out it's not as easy as they thought, and go running back into the corporation, either the one they worked for before or a similar corporation. What do you think? Do you think the great resignation is going to be a thing, that this whole trend towards freelancing is going to continue to be very popular among people that are working now? Or do you think that people are going to run back into the comfort of their corporation, where a lot of their life support functions were taken care of, their administrative stuff? Everybody has the job they do, but there's lots of infrastructure in a corporation, and you don't have to pay attention to filing the corporate taxes and preparing your legal structure and that kind of thing, which are things that freelancers will do as they go through the process of becoming a freelancer in many cases. Of course, there's right now there's let's see, I think the last number was 56 million Americans in the workforce did some freelancing last year. So it's a huge number of people that have freelanced. A lot of that freelancing is not online. It's people that show up for freelance jobs of one kind or another. I know from living in Los Angeles that most of the people in motion picture production and television production are freelance workers. That's a big category of freelance workers, and they show up on sets and they are do all kinds of things, but they're freelance. They come together, they work on a motion picture for 9 months to a year and a half, depending upon what it is and what part of that they're involved in. And then they go off and work on another project. They're freelancers. They move from project to project based on what they're interested in doing, that kind of thing. So something to think about as you contemplate your freelance future. You have much more choice than ever before to make this fun, and it's a tragedy not to inject some humor, some interest into uncovering simple jobs that you might like to do in the online world. If you dabble just a few hours a month and you make it a commitment to do that every month, to just step out of your comfort zone or step into your comfort zone, maybe uh, go back to doing something that you had a lifelong interest in. Find out if there's a job that has something to do with Major League Baseball that might be of interest to you. You go into uh, one of the systems, Upwork, Freelancer, Guru.com, and look for small jobs that have the words or abbreviation of Major League Baseball. See what you find. Find some other abbreviation that might be interesting to you. I know one person that I talked to wanted to always work for a large corporation. They felt like they were kind of deprived of that during their career, but you can go in and actually put in the name of a corporation. And sometimes that major corporation will turn up. They will have an assignment or a number of assignments in the online system. So you might put in AT&T or IBM, or pop another thought in there. These organizations have marketing departments. They need research. They hire people to supervise surveys or interpret survey results all the time. So there's a wide variety of jobs and activity there. One of the best ways to find work is to plug in the name. Maybe you work for a large company, and like me, you know, you haven't seen that company for 20 years, but there might be something that if you work there for 5 or 10 years, you know a whole lot about that company. You may have kept up with them over time, and they might like the idea of hiring somebody that has previous uh, background there. And Tom has an interesting comment. There could be a boomerang effect, especially if benefits are a consideration and companies improve salary and benefits. Yes, this is one of the big considerations. You know, the first thing people think about when they go out as a freelancer is, what am I going to do for health insurance? And many of the baby boomers that we work with, if they're over a certain age, have the benefit typically of having Medicare, which is, you know, kind of the gold standard, um, uh, for medical care. But of course, many people are not. You know, that's kind of an age 65 kind of a thing. And so there are emerging many consolidators, is the term they use, that take freelancers. So they kind of aggregate a bunch of individual workers and they put them under insurance policies. And there are more flexible rules about how they can do that and what they can do with that. So the other thing that Tom mentioned, let's see, he had a friend who recently listed on Upwork, and there's a flood of people with Fortinet skills. Now, I'm assuming that's a technology product, and that's one of the best ways. If you work with a technology product, and those of you that have been through our programs, you know that that's one of the questions in the client connection worksheet that we ask you to do in that program, is list any software that you've used in your career. And of course, many people have used Excel and Microsoft Office and that kind of thing, but a lot of people have used very specialized software, and bringing that into the discussion and your keyword searches is a very cool thing to do, and see where that leads you. You know, this is a little bit like a treasure hunt when you think about it. Yeah, and Tom is just saying that it's an IT program. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of IT programs in wide use, but are very specialized. I know that architects have certain programs they like to do. Mechanical engineers have certain stress analysis programs that pretty much are industry standard. And if you have any of those skills with a piece of software, AutoCAD is a general purpose computer aided design tool, but one that pays very well. You know, you frequently see people making $80 an hour and up on networks if they know how to do AutoCAD in certain applications. So lots of high paying activity there. And, you know, most of us were so aware of what software we were working in, and it was such a big part of our life, work life, that we didn't really think of it as a skill. And I find this a lot with baby boomers. And when we get to the question, and especially if we're working with somebody helping them create a profile, we get to a question and say, what software have you used? And sometimes some of the best connections for activities to work on come out of that software that they worked with. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. If you have any questions or comments, I encourage you to leave those in the comment area, and we'll monitor those through the week and put those out there. And different people will respond based on what they know and how they know it and all that kind of stuff. And so, with that, we'll bring this to a close and wish you a great weekend. Stay busy. I know a number of we're having one of our master classes this weekend on earning with English online, and it's very nice. It's a big group of folks, and if you're participating in that, we look forward to seeing you right here tomorrow, or not on Facebook, but right here in the living room, and having lots of fun. So have a good weekend. Take care and see you next week.